My wife said. His cooking is so terrible, I pretend to eat it just to be nice. I replied, I appreciate the honesty. Later, at her family dinner, I handed her father the restaurant's black card. It had my name and the title, Executive Chef and Owner. When her father read the card out loud, I, Jasper 41, male, had been with Stella, 39, for 10 years, married for 7. Our life in Charleston, South Carolina, was a facet of Southern charm. We lived in a beautifully restored historic home in the French Quarter, a property Stella had inherited. I was a sous chef at a respected fine dining establishment, earning a stable $65,000 a year. Stella was a prominent interior designer, running her own successful firm, with an annual income of $180,000. Our social life was a whirlwind of her clients' lavish parties and dinners at places like Circa 1886, where my culinary background was often a source of mild amusement to her friends, Finn and Margot. Hey viewers, we are aiming for 1,000 subscribers. Your support brings us closer. Subscribe and be part of the journey. The opportunity that would shatter this pretense arrived on a sweltering August afternoon. A restaurant group in Savannah, Georgia, known for its innovative approach to Southern cuisine, offered me a chance to be the executive chef and a minority owner of their new flagship restaurant, the Salted Spoon. It was a monumental step, the culmination of 2 decades in kitchens. The offer included a base salary of $120,000, a significant equity stake, and a new Audi Q5 as a company vehicle. It was a chance to finally create my own culinary vision. I presented the offer to Stella that evening, my voice filled with a rare, genuine excitement. I spoke of the creative freedom, the potential for significant wealth, the chance to finally lead my own kitchen. She listened, her expression carefully neutral, as she swirled her glass of chilled rosé. Savannah? She finally asked, her tone dismissive. It's so provincial, Jasper. And a restaurant? It's so much work. She shook her head. My entire business is here. My clients, my reputation. You want me to give all of that up to follow you to a glorified diner? She framed my ambition as a reckless gamble. You should be happy with your safe job here. This isn't ambition, it's a fantasy. A few days later, after a meal I had cooked, she let a careless comment slip. His cooking is so terrible. She whispered to Margot, thinking I was out of earshot. I pretend to eat it just to be nice. I walked back into the dining room, my voice calm. I appreciate the honesty, I replied. Update 1. I quietly accepted the Savannah offer the next day. Stella's casual dismissal of my passion, her judgment of my core identity, confirmed what I had long suspected. I was merely a convenient partner, not a respected equal. She continued her subtle campaign of denigration. At a gallery opening, she introduced me to one of her new clients. This is Jasper, she said, a saccharine smile on her face. He cooks. He's thinking of moving to Savannah to open a little restaurant. Her tone implied a child's hobby, not a serious career move. Finn and Margot offered their sympathies. It's a big risk, Jasper, Finn said. Stella has such a stable life here. Margot added, you have to consider her career too. Hers is so established. They saw me as impulsive and selfish. I offered no defense. I just began my quiet preparations. I opened new, separate bank accounts. I started researching homes in Savannah's historic district, finding a charming townhouse with a private courtyard that felt like a sanctuary. I also quietly engaged a real estate attorney to begin the process of liquidating my share of our marital assets. This was not a rash decision, it was a carefully calculated exit. Update 2. I chose a quiet Tuesday evening to make my decision final. The silence in the house was almost deafening. Stella, I've accepted the offer in Savannah. My voice was calm, steady. I'm moving in 6 weeks. Her face, which had been relaxed, tightened with an almost imperceptible shift. You actually went through with this little project? I did. I confirmed. This is my dream. Your dream, she scoffed. And what about my reality? What about the life we built here? The life you built, I corrected, my voice even. I was just a side dish. She stood up, her eyes cold. Then you can go have your little chef's fantasy alone. You choose that, or you choose me. You don't get both. I thought of her words about my cooking, her pretense. The choice was clear. I choose my dream, I answered. Update 3. The weeks that followed were a cold, deliberate unwinding. Stella moved through phases of anger, bargaining, and dismissive indifference. She accused me of abandoning her for a fleeting whim. I remained detached, focusing on the meticulous logistics of the move. I sold my old sedan, purchased plane tickets, and packed my extensive collection of cookbooks and chef knives, the tools of my passion. Finn and Margot stopped calling. Their silence was a clear endorsement of Stella's narrative. On the day the movers came for my belongings, Stella was conveniently out of town at a design conference. She left a brief, imperious note on the kitchen counter. Have the movers lock up. I flew to Savannah a few days later, leaving behind a city that had become a gilded cage. The moment I stepped out of the airport, the warm, humid air, rich with the scent of magnolias and salt, felt like a homecoming. My new townhouse, with its wrought, iron balcony overlooking a quiet square, was everything I had imagined. My new restaurant, the Salted Spoon, was already buzzing with activity. We were renovating, refining, building a menu, and I was finally in my element creating. Update 4, 6 months in Savannah. It felt like a lifetime of genuine fulfillment. The Salted Spoon. Open to critical acclaim. Food critics raved about our innovative take on Southern classics. We were fully booked nightly, a vibrant hub of culinary excellence. My equity in the restaurant was already appreciating. My personal life was also thriving. I had found a quiet community of fellow chefs and artists. I also met a woman named Clara, a talented ceramic artist. Our connection was immediate, built on shared creativity and a mutual appreciation for authenticity. One afternoon, I received a text from Margot. Hey Jasper, we heard the Salted Spoon is doing really well. Stella said you were just cooking simple pub food. I thought of Stella's casual cruelty, her judgment of my cooking. The sting was long gone, replaced by a quiet sense of triumph. I replied with polite detachment. The food is excellent. I hope you and Finn are well. Update 5, a glowing review of The Salted Spoon, appeared in Southern Living magazine, featuring a full-page photo of me in the kitchen, proudly wearing my executive chef jacket. The article highlighted my unique culinary vision and the restaurant's rapid success. The news spread like wildfire, reaching Charleston. Stella's emails began immediately. Executive chef and owner. You let me believe it was a small-time venture. One accused. You deliberately hid the scale of this from me. Another claimed. Then came the call from Finn. His voice was laced with a palpable shame. Jasper, man, we were completely fooled, he said. Stella told us you were failing, that your little restaurant was barely making ends meet. We just saw the Southern Living article. We had no idea. My own family, who had been confused and worried by Stella's narrative of my supposed failure, called to offer their congratulations. The public, verifiable truth had finally debunked her private, manipulative fiction. Update 6, Stella appeared in Savannah a week later. She had driven down from Charleston without warning, her usual polished demeanor replaced by a desperate, almost frantic energy. She was waiting outside, the Salted Spoon. When I arrived for my morning prep, Jasper, she began, her voice strained. I was wrong. About everything. What were you wrong about, Stella? I asked, my voice flat. I misjudged you, she said, her eyes pleading. I was tied to Charleston, to my clients. I couldn't see the incredible thing you were building. I can change. I can move here. I can help you with the design. I looked at her, and the memory of her whispered comment about my cooking, her pretense, was clear in my mind. You didn't misjudge me, Stella, I said. You judged me as something beneath you. You dismissed my passion, and you said my cooking was terrible. That was just insecurity, she insisted. I was afraid of losing you. No, I replied calmly. You were afraid of not being the center of attention. This restaurant is my creation. It doesn't need your design. It doesn't need you. I stepped past her into the restaurant. Goodbye, Stella. Update 7. Her rejection triggered a final, vindictive attempt to hurt me. She began leaving scathing, anonymous 1-star reviews for The Salted Spoon on various online platforms. She attacked the food, the service, the ambience. Her posts were poorly written, filled with exaggerated claims, and sometimes contradictory. My general manager, a sharp, tech-savvy woman named Naomi, quickly identified the pattern. We noticed that all the negative reviews originated from IP addresses in the Charleston area, often from locations tied to Stella's former clients or associates. Naomi quietly flagged the reviews, reported them as fraudulent, and submitted an official complaint to the review sites. Within days, the malicious reviews were removed, and her accounts were banned. Her attempt to destroy my reputation only served to expose her own petty vindictiveness. Update 8. A year passed. The Salted Spoon was a resounding success, now boasting a Michelin star. Clara and I were deeply in love, living in a beautiful home near the coast. We often collaborated, her ceramics gracing the tables of my restaurant, my food inspiring her art. Our life was a tapestry woven with shared passion and mutual respect. One evening, a final email from Stella arrived. Her interior design firm had lost several major clients, her reputation tarnished by the gossip from the Salted Spoon incident. She was struggling to find new work. "I saw your success as a threat," she wrote. "I let my pride destroy the best thing I had. I am truly sorry, Jasper." I read her words and felt a distant, quiet sense of finality. I replied with a single, polite sentence, "I wish you peace." I blocked her email address and moved on. Final update. Several months later, Clara and I were having dinner at the Salted Spoon with my parents and Stella's parents. It was a rare. Stella's father, a gruff but honorable man, raised his glass. "Jasper," he began, his voice surprisingly soft. "When you and Stella were together, she always talked about your little cooking hobby. I confess, I believed her. I never really saw you." He looked at me, his eyes filled with a deep regret. "I heard her say once that your cooking was terrible, that she pretended to eat it. And I stood by and let her say it." He paused, his gaze sweeping over the bustling, beautiful restaurant. "Now, this is your dream, your passion, and it is magnificent." He put down his glass. "I am profoundly sorry, son. You deserved so much more from us." His words brought a profound, quiet sense of closure. I reflected on the lesson of the past 2 years. True value is not defined by the fleeting opinions of others, but by the relentless pursuit of your own authentic passion. Stella's dismissal of my cooking, her pretense of eating it, was a reflection of her own emptiness, not a judgment of my talent. She saw my passion as something to be endured, not celebrated. But a true artist, a true creator, knows that the greatest revenge is simply to build something so undeniable, so beautiful, that it speaks for itself. And in the vibrant, thriving reality of the Salted Spoon, my truth was finally, deliciously, evident to all.